Alright, so the title of this video will be, since it's the two for tonight, I'm going to make it about Fables. Particularly the one I got from long way back, Wind in the Willows, which is one of the ones I got that I really loved. It's one of my favorite, most beloved Christmas presents of all time. When I was like a preteen, I think, and a very young child. I had that book for a few years, and I was able to read it. Not the whole thing. I skimmed it most of the time. I was with the Hardy Boys, but that's not a fable. At least those two kids and the girl from Nancy Drew. They sure do act like animals sometimes. Now, sorry, I'm just being a jerk. Okay, but yeah. Fables like Wind of the Willows honestly do give me a lot of joy. There's something about Fables that really get to me, not just the fact that the storyline, or even, I don't know how I even associate negativity with the storyline, but there are some traumas with that, unfortunately. But with storytelling, I guess like that's a better way to say it. There's I like Fables for reasons beyond the fact that there's animals pertaining to it, because as a possibly an animal lover myself, who's just only tapping into that in recent years and years before, where I've encountered animals and I've had a lot of fondness to them. I never get that chance all the time. Not particularly without having legitimate pets, at least. But like, it's So if I ever had a cockatiel red panda or jellyfish, then you can know how I handle those expensive pets and still manage to love them dearly and make it work for myself and have better emotional well-being and mental health and all that. And even those are some of those are trigger words, because how people advocate for those things and how they word that and how they distort and that kind of thing, to say the least, unfortunately. And even to say the least is a trigger phrase, I guess, unfortunately. So with stuff that's off topic and irrelevant like that, I will say that in spite of those things, it's things like Fables that put me in peace of mind. Because with Fables, you have very deep, significant meanings that can be oriented back into human personification and human nature in general as well. If even, what you can do with these stories is that you can show that whether they're relevant to humanity or not, they can still be very significant. And significant, I mean in a way, like I said before, if you ever heard me say like this, where significance is things that matter without being important, if that's me being too deep insightful. But so like with Fables, the animals that they can represent certain kinds of characteristics or dynamics, and you can make them do whatever you want. Like literally, like the entertainment of that could just be, oh, they're just animals, or they're just making me not bored. And I've had this big gambit with Deep Documentary 3 where I was like, yeah, purpose, stillness, results, entertainment. I'm multitasking them all, but I lose all of them somehow, I guess. Somehow, sort of. But, and yeah, even with Deep Docs, I think I kind of pertain the idea of fabled natures, because even Good Evil Zero and Good Evil have those fabled characteristics, like Crab the Clockwork, Dog the Dogless, Lloyd and Jack the Demons, and then the aliens with this technology and all that, and then the medieval timed characters as well, from Good Evil. And then you have what Algebras had, which was literally like characters from high school and college and all those other degrees. And there's Angus Wild being a young character who led an army of magical and robotic people and all that. And then Project Tether being the story where I had a combination of science and magic, in a sense that was eventually going to be esoteric and occultic in the later time, unfortunately, especially with Ithiac, the incubator ghost. But like, so, and I'm not intending for Otto Crosswind to be a fable either. I don't think there's connections. I can make fables myself about those characters, like the sprites, the capoids, the doglesses, scancels creatures. I can make a fable about that if even they don't count as animals. I can include animals with them regardless, anyways. So I really enjoy fables because they have a dynamic that is very oddly specific, but because it is literally about animal characters, you can do whatever you want with them. But you can, if you choose to make them deep and insightful, then that's a very good extra mile to go on, if not 2 miles, to do that kind of thing. Let alone 1 or 2 miles, or 2.5 miles. For my case, these videos at least 2.5%. But I loved Wind of the Willows because I didn't actually remember the side stories as I'm hearing about, or the murder, not 2016, which I think I'm gonna look into that anyways, because I think the murder is actually gonna be a really interesting story, albeit how sad it is that happened a few years ago. But and all the various stuff, I'm gonna definitely watch the claymation movie, because that's an hour and 20 minutes on YouTube, or even Amazon Prime. I think I could watch on either one to show support, I guess. Because Barry Pierce mentioned it in the Stopmotion University lectures I was in earlier in the year, so I can definitely watch that and see how good the claymation was, stop motion animation. They have a full hour, 20-minute movie of that series. It's like nice. Wind of the Willows. When I read the book, I had the Yale hardcover from my family, and that book was actually really good. Again, I don't remember the side stories. I do remember Toad going. I shouldn't spoil this then. Okay, I remember the Toad major chapters. I remember the Badger being involved. I definitely remember Otto and not Otto Crosswind, not Otto Bismarck on then, not the motto of the day, not the grotto in the cave. Now I'm being poetic. Now I should make my own story like Fable, I guess. Jeez, you've seen all my posts on the videos before, but yeah. Anyways, Otto and Rat. I definitely remember them. So, and you get like with the writing of those books, like even with Oliver Twist and like some of those really good classics, because Oliver Twist is a really hard read, and you don't even. I'm not even getting to the other books. I've obviously read like Dive Wimpy Kid. I haven't read Amelia Rules. I really should. Big Nate, Origami Yoda, some of the Scholastic classics, and you have all the other classics like Robinson Crusoe and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, etc. And then you have the obvious like more so popular books like I guess that would include Dive Wimpy Kid somehow. Even them and Captain Underpants were still pretty good classics for me. Wind of the Willows though is not just a cliche classic. There is a really good reason that's in the Barnes and Noble's classic literature section. I actually found that out by the time I finished Siddhartha the other week. And I read it for 2+ hours, and I was like, okay, I bet they're gonna have Wind of the Willows in there. And I actually found it. I was like, oh, no, I was just kidding. I found it in there, and I was like, whoa, now I know. Wind of the Willows is actually indeed in the Barnes and Noble's classic literature section, as well as other classics I've actually read. And it's like, yeah. I enjoy the poetic and simplistic yet eager and meaningful context of the reading. It's actually writing and storytelling like Wind of the Willows that makes me feel grateful that I have the communication that I have. If I'm insightful as a person who's also so technically illiterate in both how much he talks and how he doesn't make sense, at least I have the gifts of being insightful and well organized and all that. It doesn't make it any worse that I have those gifts that I feel like they're a burden sometimes, even the good things, not just the bad things. But with Wind of the Willows, I read that, I'm like, oh my gosh. It feels good to read. It's literally like it sounds simplistic at first, but you know there's deeper meanings into it that you can get into if you choose to, other than simply choosing entertainment, which is what many people do with a lot of things. As I can already deeply say, I guess I knew that some of those other books, like Alice in Wonderland, that when there was a movie, I guess it was in multiple ways. I still like the live action Alice in Wonderland movies, even the sequel to that, to The Looking Glass. But because Alice in Wonderland, the franchise in its entirety for the last few decades, it wasn't meant to be a meaningful story. It was meant to just be as random as an outlet as it was necessary for the depressing time for the author. But he wrote it through inspiration of his own association with younger children, and without. I don't know if that was so much that was inappropriate for the times, but there's a deeper meaning behind even stuff like that, where you can't even like in our current day and age, you can't even have those kind of relationships with children as safe anymore. And then compared to the 20th century, like 1970s, 1960s, you could actually, you can know what you're doing and people would agree with you. And it's like, no, in this time we have cancel culture and all that. I don't believe in the information age. I don't believe in social justice. I don't believe in strawmanning. I don't believe in certain other aspects of life. And people I might get my case for this, but for defending electronic arts or Autism Speaks or something like that. All these controversial things. I'm saying this off topic and irrelevantly because I'm trying to make a point about these fables and Wind of the Willows things. Like I really am. What I'm trying to say is that with a story like that, where you have characters that can have a simple, entertaining approach that can still be meaningful if you choose to, like I relayed with Alice in Wonderland, not intending that, and with other franchises. I think because my favorite movie of all time, I can make a video about this later. 9, Shacker's 9, not Tim Burton's 9. Jeez. They have deep meaning if you choose to have them. And maybe even without that meaning, it can feel like it's not as reliable, but it's so entertaining and artistically driven moving. I think even the Black Cauldron and Unikitty from Cartoon Network, Black Cauldron from Disney, those are mediocre shows and series that can still have meaning if you so choose to, or can even have other kinds of benefits and pros to them. I'm not just the insightful person that will say stuff like Chicken Little and Norm of the North are good movies for some freaking reason, and everyone else thinks they're bad, if not the worst. But And here I am relaying a bunch of fiction to you, as I did with one of the other videos, the fiction in SpongeBob one, for instance. And I think I can close by saying that you should read the Willows. I can spoil it for you by saying that, yeah, Toad indeed went to jail and escaped or something, with a maiden's help or something, by stealing a car. That's the only spoiler I'm gonna give you, for now. But that's the only one. No, I think it's the only one now. But in conclusion, Fables put a peace of mind that I didn't already knew I needed, because I didn't already value peace and happiness. When I say stuff like peace and happiness, I don't mean that I never cared about them, because I know how to care without emotions for some reason, without my emotional detachment, whether it was actually because of PMO or because I actually lost touch of my inner self or my childhood or whatever. Now I can now somehow understand how people mean when they say that I'm not looking from within, even though that's what pisses me off somehow. And like, you do you boo as well, those things, like all the phrases like you do you boo. But it's just those fables don't just remind me that I care about animals, they remind me that I care about myself, and that how the demonizing means allowed me to have an outlet, whether I trust creativity or not. The science, technology, engineering, mathematics person I wanted to be, and the business and health person I could have still been, which I technically am still now. Business savvy or marketing manager, doctor, nursing, mathematician with combinatorics, like I'm studying on the computers you've seen with PowerApps and Power Platform and slow code, and me reading all these examples at the last second, because I'm getting better examples over time for some reason, even for people actually. I can talk about UnhappyPlum and TakeInventory later on, but because they're wonderful people. I already mentioned a bit about Ron Lamdog76, but like, and I think the other guy, I think it was Wonton. No, he's the filmmaker director guy. Not Cinema Jacket, not Rocky or Jason, not Jason Nova and Crazy Rocky. That's the other ones. But there was another guy who was good at like recording and filming and doing interviews, and it was like a small creator, but he was still pretty brilliant. And those are examples I can make. With examples and fables, you can make examples. It looks like I'm relating this, but you can make examples of animals and their characteristics and how they orient themselves. They don't have to have meaning, but when they do, you can look for them. I like that best. I like when you don't have to have meaning with it, but it's there if you want it. And that may be unfortunate to not be able to force, because I'm the kind of person who forces a lot of things. You may have seen my my Agorism videos, my content economic videos, and you wondered, how the hell do you not value privacy and personal space and all that? Like, weren't you supposed to be an anarchist? Well, technically I'm not an anarchist, but that's the least I can say on a two vlog per day video. And then yes, I mentioned occultism, I mentioned NCAP, I didn't mention NoFap yet. Well, I already did, so I mentioned the big three already in this whole video. And it's like, in my real conclusion for now, animals have very significant meanings to them. When you don't just consider things like, oh, they're the way they survive or the way they orient themselves as beautiful banks of creatures, there could just be mean just specifically because they're different in the first place. If you have that distinction, then it's easier to not have to worry about making people look different, which is kind of has racist or other discriminatory factors to it, I guess, unfortunately. But how that works with how Moriarty from Crime or Gaming mentioned this about like how in one of the podcasts he was doing, like based on the EFAP, where he was talking with his friends about, and our friends actually, about what it will be like to understand fully what ethics and morals means in terms of what you can use in video game characters and franchises, and what would be discriminatory for those, and how discrimination works even then. That's a big gambit for him, I guess. He's always been a good psychological reference for that. Look at me go with all these references and examples that I'm suddenly being good at doing after just specifically talking about Wind of the Willows and Fables. Jeez. My final conclusion, based on Opit's, it's me and my guest, I did one for my older videos in this YouTube channel, Otto Crosswind, so you can see that one, the Who's Otto Crosswind video. If I can't link in this one because I just I don't do editing on these clips, but yeah. That's why I haven't referenced any of the clips and the clip cards, but the clickable cards. Yeah. For this conclusion, I think I want to say that my favorite animal comes between either cockatiels, red pandas, and jellyfish, and there's more to it than that. But just those are the pets I would want to have. If anyone was willing to help me with that, maybe a girlfriend or best friends or a social circle that of positive people or a mastermind group, I can make another video about the Mastermind Alliance kind of stuff, I guess. Not just the ones I've been involved in, obviously, but you know. And then I was just looking back at looking for both the book reviews and the movie reviews for Wind of the Willows on YouTube, as a sort of reward for finishing up my sales course stuff. The first of 3 parts. It's not too much long after that. This will be interesting to me. Hopefully, fingers crossed for that. But yeah, I was doing better with that lately. And then PowerApps, and then Combinatorics, and then of course Stopmotion University, which is when Barry Purse does eventually bring up Wind of the Willows. So, you know, thank you John Kuma for that. But how much I can respect that if I need to. But stay still, everyone, because my wind is in the willows, I guess. Take care in the pandemic, and I'll see you in the next Fable. Look at me relaying all those examples on the last second. Okay, I'm out here, guys. Thank you very much. Bye.